guys, it's Chris here, and I wanted to come out today to shoot a quick video to answer the question, what is a CSA? We get that question a lot this time of year. It's early February and there's a national promotion going on, National C.S.A. Sign-Up Day and National C.S.A. Sign-Up Week. Well, let's start with the question, what does it stand for? CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. It's a concept that's been around for some time. Initially, the idea was that customers would participate in the cost of farming. So if the operating cost of a farm were $10,000, then 10 people could throw $1,000 in each, help pay the expenses of the farm, and then they would get 10% back of the profits or produce from the farm. Well, it doesn't really work that way anymore. It's more of a vegetable subscription program. So the customer actually pays for a share up front, and then the farmer delivers a weekly share of produce throughout the growing season. So that's sort of the way it works today, with some variations on that. So today we're going to talk about the benefits to the farmer, the benefits to the customer, and then we're going to talk about, is a CSA right for me? And we're going to go through a list of questions so we can ask and see if this is a model that will work for you. Let's start off with the benefits to both the farmer and the consumer. First of all, the benefits to the farmer is that they get operating capital up front. This time of year in late winter, early spring, there's not a lot of money coming onto a farm because there's not a lot of produce to sell. But there are a lot of expenses. So costs for seed, for fertilizer, for equipment, supplies, for maintenance costs, maybe new construction. All these things are pretty heavy up front, and there's not a lot of cash flow. So actually getting some income this time of year through early subscriptions helps the farmer to meet operating costs. The other benefit to the farmer is that they've already sold this produce. So this is produce that has already been sold, it's already guaranteed, and they can spend the rest of the time growing great produce instead of marketing and advertising and worrying about where they're going to sell what they grow. So that's a benefit to the farmer as well. For the consumer, is that they get a weekly guaranteed delivery of great produce that's fresh from the farm. And this is produce that you normally can't buy anywhere else, especially this fresh. And farmers are able to produce things and get it to their CSA customers that is not available in the grocery store. Maybe varieties that can't ship, heirloom varieties that for whatever reason aren't really grown for the commercial trade. But these can be grown on a small farm and delivered as a part of a CSA. So the CSA customer gets stuff that they're not probably going to get in other places. Another benefit is they know their farmer. So they know who's producing their food, they know how it's produced, if it's produced safely, if it's produced sustainably, the way they want it to be produced. And they get some input into that. They can communicate with the farmer. They can tell them how they'd like to see their stuff produced, maybe what types of things they would like to see. And I know farmers take input from their customers. So try that in a supermarket and you're not going to get that level of a relationship with your grower. So that is a benefit to the consumer as well. So you may wonder, is a CSA right for me? Well, let's see. First of all, a CSA may be right for you if you eat vegetables and you eat a lot of vegetables. That may seem obvious, but it's not necessarily the case. Some people think they eat a lot of vegetables, and then when they get a CSA box and they have a huge box of vegetables, then maybe they realize they don't quite eat as many vegetables as they thought they did. So if you like to eat vegetables, a CSA is good for you. Or if you're committed to eating more vegetables. And we've had people that realize they're going to get a lot of vegetables every week, and they're going to have to learn how to cook. They're going to have to learn how to process these vegetables and prepare them for the table. So that goes into our second point. If you like to cook, a CSA is good for you. So you're going to get, for the most part, raw produce. We actually pick, pack, and pretty well wash the field dirt off of it. It's pretty close to being ready to eat, but it's still going to be raw produce, right? So you're going to need to wash it, you're going to need to process it a little bit and prepare it in a way that you can eat it. So that knowing that ahead of time helps people to realize, what they're getting into when they get a CSA. But if you love to cook, if you love to experiment with new things, so that's another one. If you like to try new things, then a CSA is for you, because every week you'll probably get something that you haven't tried before. A lot of people are familiar with vegetables, but they really haven't cooked with certain vegetables before. Maybe you know what Swiss chard or kohlrabi or Asian greens or some weird type of tomato is, but you've never really used it that often. So this gives you an opportunity to try new things, to try new recipes. And a good CSA will often give you recipes, will often give you tips on how to use your produce. We used to actually print a physical newsletter, a paper newsletter that went in our boxes every week that had recipes, that had ideas about how to use your produce, how to store your produce. And we would take recipes from customers and put them in there as well if they had a good idea. And then we would send that out with the box. So you had plenty of ideas on how to use your produce. We do that electronically now because that became a big thing. So you'll generally get some kind of advice or tip on how to use your produce. We've had people that really weren't big cookers, but when they joined the CSA, they learned to cook and they really enjoyed it. And so if you're willing to eat produce, if you're willing to cook, then a CSA is probably right for you. Next, a CSA may be right for you if you like to eat in season. So the whole point of a CSA is that you're eating what is in season. We're not eating strawberries in January. We're not eating tomatoes in February. We are eating what's in season at the time. And that's a really neat eating experience if you've never done that before. We've become spoiled to buy whatever produce we want, whatever time of the year it is. But when we're sort of tied more to the seasons, that becomes a better eating experience, I think. And you really understand where your food comes from. And you really learn to appreciate when you have strawberries in May and June. When it's May and June and you're picking fresh strawberries from the field, you really appreciate those strawberries. More so, I think, than when you get them in the dead of winter. And they don't really taste good anyway. So those are experiences that come along with the CSA, and they're all a part of it. So if you like to eat in season and want to try that for a year, a CSA is a great way to do that. You also probably would be happy with the CSA if you value quality over price. And what I'm saying is that CSA vegetable boxes are probably a little more expensive than the produce you're going to buy in a grocery store. And they should be, because the operating expenses of a small farm like ours, with a lot of its hand labor, is just with us. It takes a lot more for us to produce these vegetables. We're not doing it on a large scale, so our costs are more, our labor's more, but you're getting a better product. So if you value quality, if you value freshness, then a CSA is for you. We generally pick our produce the day that we deliver it. So we'll pick in the morning, and in the afternoon the customer comes to the farm and picks it up. That is super fresh. Some crops like potatoes, they may be dug a day ahead of time, but for the most part it's dug within 24 hours, it's picked within 24 hours and delivered to your table. So that is a benefit to the consumer. So what can I expect in my CSA share every week? Well, once again, that really depends on the farm. Some CSAs run as a whole farm CSA, like ours. Is we have orchards, we have small fruit, we have eggs from our pastured hens. We often have grass-fed beef and pork. We do vegetables primarily. So you will get a mix of products, and it all comes from our farm. Whatever you buy in our box is grown here on our farm just by us. Some farms have more of a cooperative model, where you have one farm that specializes maybe in raising chickens, and one that maybe has small fruit, and one that has vegetables, and they can cooperate, so you get sort of a combined share from several farms, and that's a good option as well. So you just really have to ask the farmer, about where their produce is and what different things that they offer. Now, you're going to get a variety of produce. Generally, shares will start sometime around April or May, and ours, we offer a main season CSA, which is 22 weeks through the main growing season, and then we offer a fall winter CSA, which is about 6 to 8 weeks from October, November, December. So they're different sizes, so depending on how many weeks, they cost different amounts, and they have different items in them. The good thing about a CSA is what you get varies every week. You're going to be eating in season, so you're going to be eating different things in May than you are in September. And that's that changing of the seasons. Whatever is in your box every week is going to keep things interesting. In fact, we have normally around 40 different types of vegetables in our box over a season, and then even then we have, like for a tomato is a type of vegetable, we'll have a dozen different varieties of tomatoes through the growing season. So you get to try lots of different stuff, and there's lots of variation. So it keeps things exciting for the weekly eater. You know, we used to have a survey where we asked what did people like and what did they not like in order to better meet their needs for the CSA. Well, believe it or not, we found that for every item that was someone's favorite, that was probably someone's least favorite. So, you know, opinions about what you like or what your favorite thing is, what your least favorite thing, that varies so widely. We just try to do a good mix of everything. So you don't get one thing so many times. You may get one item 3 or 4 times over the season, and not every week. So every week the box is different. So that should keep things interesting. So a good grower will do that. If you have a CSA where you have the same thing week after week after week, then, you know, maybe they have to work on their growing skills a little bit, and they need a little bit of variation. And, you know, things happen. The weather comes in, and this crop fails, and that's part of being in a CSA, is that you sort of do assume some risk with the farmer. So if it's a bad year, it's a drought year, it's a flood year, and maybe some things aren't available that year, then you realize that it's out of the farmer's hands, and that it's part of the experience of a CSA as well. So how much does a CSA cost? Well, that depends on a lot of factors. Number one, it depends on where you're at in the country. There are different costs in different parts of the country, different prices. So in Kentucky, these are Kentucky prices in the Midwest, Middle South. So this may be average for our area. It may be not the same for your area. And it also depends on growing season, because our growing season is roughly about 5 months that we deliver produce. And then we have a fall-winter CSA that extends that a little bit. But we generally do about 20 weeks of deliveries from May to October. And the normal amount of produce is $20 to $30 a week for most CSAs in our area. Now, that depends on a lot of things. That can be the size of the farm, the things that are offered in the CSA, the size of the share. But for a normal size share, it's going to be about $25 a week. For 20 weeks, is about $500. Now, if you're certified organic, that can be a little bit more expensive because costs are more expensive, and it should be. If this sounds like something you'd like to try, by all means do that. But realize that sometimes customers aren't happy because their expectations are not met. So knowing what to expect before you jump in and put some investment into a CSA, it will probably help both the farmer and the consumer. There are some things that I think customers don't expect sometimes. The biggest problem that we found is that it becomes a hassle for some people to actually show up and pick up their box every week. Maybe they're busy, maybe they have sports practices, maybe they have a lot of stuff going on, and for them it becomes a burden to come to the pickup location, the farm, sometimes locations are farmers markets every week, week in and week out, and that really sort of becomes a burden for them instead of a blessing. So what happens is they don't pick up the box. The farmer prepares a box. They spend a lot of time and effort planning for this, and they have the produce ready to go, even though it's already paid for. If nobody comes and gets it, then that's a little disappointing for both parties. And they don't really get their money's worth out of the CSA, and the customer comes away disappointed. And maybe they even miss some of the best boxes. Maybe they're on vacation for a week. Maybe they just forgot. It happens a lot. And they don't get their produce that week. So they don't get everything that they paid for, and sometimes that produce goes to waste. So we suggest to people, if you can't get a box, if you can't pick it up, well then have somebody else come and pick it up. If you're on vacation, let somebody else come and get it for you. They can use the produce. They would appreciate it. If you're going away and you can't use all of it before you leave, then get the box and gift it to someone else. And that way it's not wasted and someone else really enjoys it, and maybe we've made another customer, right? So there are things you can do to kind of get around some of the problems with the CSA. We do something a little different too. It's called a market CSA. So we actually have a prepaid card, and we sell those just like we sell a share early in the year. And then you can use that card at our market, at our farm events, at our special pickup days throughout the season. So that's a little more flexible model that we use sometimes to help our customers if they travel a lot. So if they feel like they can't get there every week, they can come throughout the season and pick out what they want, and then just get it when they want it. So that's an option that we have for some of our customers to make it more convenient for them. Now there are other farms that do more of an on-demand, customizable CSA, where they actually have websites and you can get on there and choose what you want every week. We don't go that route because that becomes a lot of work for the farmer, unless you're going to dedicate somebody to running your website, doing the orders. So we plan our crops months ahead of time, so we know what we're going to plant probably now, and we really can't change that at the last minute. So if we have a week, we have a lot of nice produce, but half of it nobody wants, and half of it there's not enough to go around, then we have wasted produce, we have some mad customers. So instead, part of the CSA is really you don't get a whole lot of choice as far as you'll get a box of good vegetables in season, and it'll all be good, and we'll tell you how to use it, but there may not be as much choice. So if you really like choice, then maybe a CSA is not for you. But if you're okay with dealing with the fact that you're going to get good stuff, but you may not get a total choice, then that's a little bit different. I think Amy and I offered our first CSA sometime around 2008. And since then, we've had different sizes of CSA. We've had different models that we've used. But overall, it's been a great experience. We've enjoyed working with our customers. I think it's been a benefit to us. It's been a benefit to them. And we're going to continue to do this in the future. So we hope this has been helpful in some ways. You consider, is the CSA right for you or not? Now, if you have other questions that we didn't answer, then go ahead and put those in the comments below. And if you liked this and thought it was helpful, give us a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. We're working hard to get some content out there that will help you guys to grow better, to eat better, and to help support local sustainable farms like ours. We thank you for your support, and we hope to see you soon.